righty. He visits with us every Tuesday at 1:30. Ross Tucker, Audacy NFL Insider. Ross, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. I got a little bit of a philosophical one for you to start.
Uh-oh.
Can you have a dynamic offense without a dynamic quarterback?
Yes, you can.
Example, please.
I don't know. I thought the Niners had a dynamic offense when they went to the Super Bowl. I mean, I was on the sideline for the NFC Championship when they were very dynamic against the Green Bay Packers in the NFC Championship game. That was dynamic. They were getting like 20 yards to carry.
Then tell Guru that, please. Thank you.
Yeah, Ross, I needed security getting out of here yesterday, and I won't apologize for who I am, but when they made the announcement, the Niners, that they were acquiring C-Mac, I just assumed, okay, Debo, C-Mac, Kittle, Ayuk. I've been telling Steiny and anybody that'll listen, they're top-tier weaponry. And to go, I know it's one game, Ross, but 2-5 in the red zone, and then that last series to get in the red zone to put it away, I feel like there's still something there, and I'm like, well, okay, who do you need, Kyle, to kind of get this fixed? Am I wrong for looking at it like that?
No, I thought it was not a very impressive performance by the 49ers, especially offensively, especially given all the injuries that the Chargers have. I mean, they were down to 3 D tackles. You know, they don't have Austin Johnson. They don't have Joey Bosa.
The receivers are gone. Yeah.
What's that?
The receivers are all out, 3 of them.
Yeah, I was underwhelmed. Now, listen, a win is a win. It's hard to win games in the NFL. You don't need to apologize, blah, 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 right? We know all that stuff. But I definitely think it is fair to say that I was underwhelmed by the Niners' performance against the Chargers, especially offensively. You could say both sides of the ball, but especially offensively, I was pretty underwhelmed.
Ross Tucker joining us on 95.7 The Game. Offensively, underwhelming, that's fair, but like I look at that game, Ross. First of all, they're 4-4. They're playing a 5-3 team, so they beat them. You got to beat them. But, you know, they don't give up a touchdown after the first drive. They run 41 times, pass only 19. Like, in a way, if Ayuk makes a catch and they push something in at the end, I think we're talking about like the template for them and how they're going to win.
And maybe that's the case. And maybe we'll see that Monday night against the Cardinals, and maybe they're close. We'll see. I mean, they did have some explosive plays. I was surprised that they weren't better in the red area. And they were going up against a really undermanned group, and they needed every bit of that just to win the game. I mean, they still could have lost the game. And I guess the Chargers deserve some credit for being pretty good with their record at this point. But I don't know. I thought, I guess after the way the Niners looked their last time out and then the bye, so much in life I feel like is expectations. And I just had higher expectations for the 49ers offense coming off their last performance and the bye.
Oh, man, great points. Let me ask you this. Last night, I want to call it a stunner. We saw Philly lose. And, you know, I'm nitpicking with the Niner offense, just like you, and I appreciate your honesty. But I still think they can go anywhere and win or play anybody and win. How do you see the landscape of the NFC currently?
Yeah, I think it's fair. If you're the Niners, right, especially with their recent playoff pedigree, like they're not going to be afraid or intimidated playing in Philly or in Minnesota in the playoffs. And I'd be fascinated to see what the betting line would be in those games. I don't think there's anybody out there that would be surprised if the 49ers, especially as they get healthier, would win that game or win those games. I think those teams are probably somewhat similar. The Niners have gotten off to a slower start. Vikings and Eagles have won more games, and so the Niners are going to have to win them on the road, but that's kind of how they rolled, man. I mean, last year we saw what they did in Dallas and Green Bay. It makes it tougher, and they weren't able to get it done all the way last year, but the NFC feels like it's very winnable, although I don't know. I guess I think the Niners could be in the mix in the AFC too. I mean, I think we all kind of think the Bills and Chiefs are better, but I'm not so sure.
Ross Tucker joining us on 95.7 The Game. Hey, Ross, I don't want to put you on the spot. How much did you see of the Bills-Vikings game, if any?
Yeah, almost the whole game, yeah.
God,
I can comment on anything there.
Okay, cool, because I watched that whole game, and, here's what I don't get. The Niners, before this game last week, were 4-4, and it just feels like everybody's giving them the benefit of the doubt, and you know what? They're poised to get it rolling. I'm watching the Vikings, and they're good, man. They're tough. Say what you want about Cousins, he's pretty damn resilient. I think they're pretty good.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Because everybody's still skeptical of the Vikings.
Why?
So what I've been doing is I'm like, okay, well, they have probably the best receiver in the NFL. And, I don't know, one of the best number 2 receivers. They have a top 5 or 6 tight end in Hawkinson. They have a top, 5 or 6 running back in Dalvin Cook and a pretty good backup in Madison. Quarterback's playing at a top 10 level. I mean, the offensive line's much better than last year. The defense that's all the positions, guys.
Right.
What other positions do you want me to... I'm not going to make up positions. Those are the positions that play, and they've got really good players at most. I mean, they got Daniil Hunter and Zadarius Smith off the edge. I mean, they got a lot of guys.
Look, Ross, I don't want to be a complainer, but last night I'm watching a good game that I thought was going to give us a drive to decide the game. But the quarterback, Heineke, went into a slide. I don't think the defensive player had any malicious intent. But anyway, it was a 15-yard flag, no punt. Gabe Davis in that Buffalo game that was great. Got credit for a catch. He clearly dropped the ball. And Greenlaw gets thrown out in the Niner game Sunday night after another player hit the quarterback. And I'm just like, what with all this technology, Ross, somebody is going to get burnt on the biggest stage, and we're all going to come out the next day and say, oh, yeah, it was wrong. But, I mean, what do you make of those 3 plays? How can we not get it right?
Well, you're missing the biggest one, Guru. I mean, the face mask on Goddard was just unbelievable.
I missed that one.
It was probably the worst, the most egregious face mask I've ever seen that wasn't flagged. I mean, Davis literally grabbed it. He didn't just grab for a little bit. He pulled him down by his face mask. And by the way, Goddard is out an extended period of time. He hurt his shoulder, which is probably because he got pulled down to the ground by his face mask and landed awkwardly on his shoulder as a result. And he fumbles. Here's what's amazing. Because it's a turnover, they can review it. And they can say, I think that Goddard touched him while he recovered the fumble, so he's down here. Yet they have 60 camera angles, and it's the most blatant face mask we've ever seen, and they can't change it. They can't fix that. That is maddening.
Yes.
If my mom, in While Missing Pennsylvania, is texting me while I'm on the air with Kevin Harlan saying, why don't they do the face mask penalty? We got a problem, man. We got a problem. If Sandy Tucker is texting me, from her bed, right, saying that, and people are like, well, what are you going to do? Coaches should be able to challenge anything. Well, the games will go forever. Really? Because they only have 2 challenges. And, oh, by the way, they don't like to lose those because they lose a timeout.
Right. Just get it right.
The notion that the game would go on forever is bogus. Let them have the chance to challenge it. It's not like a face mask is a judgment call. This isn't like pass interference. Like, you can tell if the guy grabbed the face mask or not. And I really can't believe that the officials missed it. Now, the Eagles, the Commanders were the better team. The Commanders win the game. It's not even about that. It's about the fact that there's no way to correct an obvious error. And that's not good.
Ross Tucker joining us on 95.7 The Game. By the way, my sources on Dauphin Avenue say
I got to give
Sandy
Ross some
Tucker,
love, too.
a very sophisticated football fan, by the way.
Wow, dude.
Hey, I got one last one for you. How many unsportsmanlikes did you get flagged for in your career?
Ooh,
or ejections or something like that?
I'm trying to think. I remember one for sure against Columbia my senior year. I know that there were more. I'm trying to think NFL. Not nearly as many as I would have if they do those flags in practice. But I don't know. I really right now I'm only remembering that one. I'm sure there's more, but I don't know if this is old age or playing as long as I did or like CTE, but I'm not remembering any others right now off the top of my head.
All right.
Hey, Ross, I got to give you this before we go. I've been telling Steiny we got 2 nice TVs in the studio, right? And I'm not a hater. I'm a congratulator, but I've been looking at former O-linemen that are on TV, and they're visible. And I'm like, man, that was a big man. He's dropped a lot of weight. He looks good, but I got to give you your flowers, man. You look real good. My question is, where are you at now weight-wise compared to your playing days as an O-lineman? Because I was looking at Stink, Howie Long, and I'm just fixed Joe Thomas. But I looked at you on TV the other day. I said, man, he's looking good.
I appreciate that. Like anybody else, probably not where I want to be. But I used to go to training camp around 320, and I'm 50.
Okay.
So about 70 pounds down.
You look good.
Like a little bit like that. I'm trying to be like. It's funny because I'm 6'4.5", 252, which sounds like a pretty good tight end. But I know what those guys look like with their shirts off, and I do not. I do not look like those NFL tight ends with their shirts off. I wish. My wife wishes. Those guys, I've always said if I could have played one position other than O-line, it honestly would be tight end. Like 6'6", 250, small waist. You get to catch passes and score touchdowns, but you also get to block and get after people. Like that's the at least from a physique perspective, that's the ideal position. Like a tight end or a D end. I don't want to be like some skinny guy, maybe even a linebacker that's like 230. That's pretty good too.
Yeah, well, as a tight end, I'll tell you right now, you get more targets than George Kittle.
Wow. Look at
all right, Ross.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I was talking with some people about that. I don't know what the deal is there.
It's a deal to me. He is not being utilized like I think. Hey, I said, just throw one in the end zone. What an ideal. You can't get it in the red zone. Throw it to a tall guy. But, hey, Steiny says it's par for the course. Nothing to see here. It's just weird.
Well, I want to know how much of it's like they're not getting the ball and how much maybe he's not the player he used to be. I don't know the answer to that.
What?
The toe tap. You got to tell him the toe tap.
Well, no, I just think I think he's such a great blocker. Kyle tends to use him that way more than, let's say, if he were a great catcher. But he's got other guys to use. He loves, and Kittle doesn't mind blocking, right? So if a guy doesn't mind blocking, you probably will take advantage of him blocking.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is when they were explosive, boy, Kittle was getting a lot of yards after the catch.
No doubt.
A lot of yards after the catch.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, dude.